So once I can see that everybody in my class has responded to the question, to shut down the polling just involves one advance on the slide. And when I say advance, I'm talking about the same way that we would always advance on a PowerPoint slide. So you can use your mouse, spacebar, enter key, wireless remotes, whatever you're using for PowerPoint, you can go ahead and keep it the same. Myself, that's my mouse. So now my first left click of the mouse has now shut down my polling and populated my results. So to recap that, as soon as you arrive on a TurningPoint slide, polling opens up automatically. You don't have to do anything for that to take place. Regardless, polling always opens. At that time, your participants can pick up their response cards and begin answering the question immediately. Just to the left of polling open, where it says responses, you can see how many people have responded in real time. Once you're satisfied with that number, to shut down the polling just involves any way that you would normally advance in a PowerPoint. For me, that's a click of the mouse. This has now shut down the polling and immediately populated my results right on the slide. Alan, do you guys have any questions in regards to running through a basic TurningPoint slide?
That's pretty easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, very easy, and as you can see, it's still pretty consistent with what you would do in PowerPoint. There's nothing really special here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and advance to our second interactive slide that we have here. And as always, polling has opened up automatically. So at this time, my students can immediately begin answering this question, and we can see how many people have answered just to the left of polling open where we have responses. But if we recall with this one, we actually did a couple of extra things. The first thing that we did was insert a countdown timer. Now, unlike my polling opening up automatically, my countdown timer does not start automatically. It actually waits for my first advance in the presentation before it comes in. The reason it does this is because we want to give our students an opportunity to read the question and the answer choices before they see a countdown timer ticking down on them. So now that I've given an opportunity to read the question, I'm just going to click one time, and there's my countdown timer. Now this timer is actually functional. And what I mean by this is I can bring my cursor over top of it. This now gives me the opportunity to click a plus tab to add 5 seconds to it, minus tab to subtract 5 seconds. I can also click a pause tab, which will allow me to keep it right there to give my audience a little bit more time to respond to this question. Now when this timer does reach 0, it's going to automatically change the polling from open to closed, and at this time, none of my students in the class will be able to respond to the question. Now the polling is closed, it's going to take one more advance or a left click to show the results. And since I did use a correct answer indicator, my next click is going to bring that in. So notice how everything's on a sequence. So if we are using a countdown timer, the first click brings it in. The second click brings up the chart, and the third click brings up the correct answer indicator if we're using one. Now my suggestion to everyone is that if you're going to use a countdown timer, make sure you use it for all slides. Because if some slides you have a countdown and some you don't, you're going to click and think you're bringing in a countdown timer. But instead, you'll shut down your polling. This is step number 6, which is running through the TurningPoint slides. Alan, do you guys have any questions whatsoever on running through your own presentations?
No? No?
All right, very good, guys. Well, of course, you would normally run through your entire PowerPoint, not escape as soon as you're done with the TurningPoint slides as I did. But when you're done with the presentation, you're now going to go to step number 7. And step number 7 correlates to what's done after the presentation. And this is save results. So to save results, we're going to bring back up our TurningPoint ribbon, and we're going to come to the left of insert slide where it reads save session. That word session is fancy turning tech talk for results. So we are saving results within this tab. So I'm going to click on save session. This opens up my default save location, which is my sessions folder. So I can save my results here, or through my drop-down menu, I can save them to any other location I want to. It doesn't matter where the results get saved to, but we must go through the Save Session tab to do this, because these results are separate from the PowerPoint. They're not getting saved within it. They're getting saved as a completely separate file, and this is actually a .tpz, which stands for Turning Point Zip. Step number 7 is saving results. Alan, do you guys have any questions on that step?
I don't think so.
Now our 8th and our final step is generating reports. And these reports can either be generated immediately as I will, or since you'll save the session, you can always come back at a later time. Now, to generate reports, we're going to go to our Tools tab, and from Tools, the very first option is Reports. Now, remember also, the only place we've ever been within Tools, is Settings, which is down at the bottom. So now we're going to go ahead and click on the very first option, which is Reports. Once I select Reports, it's going to ask me to go ahead and select my session. Remember, this is basically asking to please select my results. If I did save it to the default location, I'm going to see it listed below. If I saved it someplace else rather than the default, I need to import it in. And I can do this by clicking on the folder and bringing those results in from a different location. Here's my current session, so I'm going to double click on this. And this now brings me to reports by category. From here, I'm going to select the type of reports that I like to generate from this session. Now, I actually have up to 33 different options, all depending on the information I was trying to collect. Now, for our purposes, I'm going to select the first two, which are graphical results by question, as well as results by question. Now, I'm going to move down to the lower right-hand corner and click on Generate Report. This is going to take the information and generate it right into Excel. Once this happens, this Excel document is going to be completely independent of both TurningPoint and PowerPoints. So we can save it as a workbook, we can print it off, we can email it, or anything else that we would normally do with Excel. We have that option from here. Now, since I did generate more than one report, I can navigate between my different reports through the tabs that I have at the very bottom of my page. So this is our 8th and our final step, which is generating our reports. So remember, once again, when we're done with our presentation, we're going to save our results through the Save Session tab. I recommend, if you can, just save it to the default location. After you save the session, either immediately or at a later time, you want to generate reports. Go to the Tools tab, click on Reports, select your session, which basically, once again, is just a result file. Select the reports you'd like to go ahead and generate. Click on the Generate Report tab. This is going to immediately generate it right into Excel. From there, it is just a completely independent Excel document, nothing to do with TurningPoint and or PowerPoint. Alan, do you guys have any questions on that 8th and final step, which is generating your reports?
I don't think so.
Okay. Alan, I got to let you know that that's the foundation of TurningPoint right there. So that's the foundation of what must be done before, during, and after a presentation. Now, before I transition over to that other piece of software you guys have also downloaded, which is TurningPoint Anywhere, do you guys have any additional questions at this time for TurningPoint?
Yeah, you mentioned individual student. You know, if we assign these clickers to an individual student, how do we record who did what answer?
Very good. Let's go ahead and cover that. So if we're interested in tracking the individual participant results from a presentation, we need to go ahead and create what's called a participant list in advance. Now, Alan, give me an idea in terms of how these cards are being assigned to students. Is this something they're purchasing themselves? Is this something that the instructor is going to pass out to the students? How is it working?
Yeah, no, they're not purchasing themselves. We have 75 cards, and so we're going to assign them, you know, by number, I guess.
Okay. Now, are the instructors going to have access to these cards ahead of time where they can put the information in a list?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure, because I want to make sure that I show you the appropriate way and what's going to be the best way for you guys to create your list.
Yeah, these cards won't leave the room.
Very good. That's good to know, too, so they're not going to leave the room. Excellent. Now, if we need to create a participant list, we don't need a specific presentation open like I do, because once we create the list and save it, we can use it with any presentation. So once we open up TurningPoint, we're going to click on the Participants tab from the TurningPoint ribbon. Now, when I click on Participants, we're going to see that our second option down is something called the Participant List Wizard. This is what I select. When I select the List Wizard, it is now going to prompt me to go through a 5-step process to successfully create this participant list. Step number 1 is just to select the templates. Education is already selected for me, so I'm going to keep it right there and click Next. Step number 2, it wants us to select list fields, or in other words, what generic information do we want to see within the list? Now, I say generic because this is no information I can generate a report on. This is just for your own information, stuff that you want to see in a column format within that list. Now, by default, it gives me last name, first name and student ID. Let's say, for instance, I don't need the student ID. A double click will take it out of there, bring it back over here to the available fields. Same thing on the left. If there's something that I would like in the available fields, a double click will bring it in the selected fields. This is step number 2, which is selecting list fields.